Good morning. I'm Donna with the Bartram Trail Branch Library, and I'm introducing Janisse Ray, who is a naturalist and environmentalist. And this is for Women's History Month. Good morning, Janisse.
Good morning, Donna. It's great to be here.
It's really good to see you. I'm very excited to talk to you. My favorite book, which we have at the Bartram Trail Branch Library that you've written, is Ecology of a Cracker Childhood. And I've read it several times because it's very beautiful. And I wondered as a child when you first knew that you were interested in being a writer and a naturalist and an environmentalist.
So the interest in being a writer came before the interest in nature. And I was very young. My dad believed that two kinds of people inherit the earth, to use, the Elizabethan biblical language, and those were poets and saints. So my dad always held writing and poetry in very high esteem. And he gave me back a lot of praise and kudos for when it turned out that I had an interest in the humanities and in the literary arts. So that was that part. I was probably 8 years old when I wrote a poem, and my dad locked it away in his safe. And so I'm very grateful to him for that. The nature thing really was organic as a child, that there was a lot of craziness in my life, but nature was a place where I felt safe. And so I naturally gravitated toward the natural world. But I was grown, I was a young student at Florida State University when I learned what environmentalism is, and that I had this deep, deep centered passion for it.
Thank you. And was there a person who guided you or mentored you?
When I was in my 20s, I met an older man who was from South Georgia. He lived over in a little town called Fitzgerald. This man was a farmer, and he had tree plantations, but he also had studied ecology with Eugene Odom at the University of Georgia. So he had an ecology background. He very much loved nature. He was a birder. He belonged to the Georgia Ornithological Society. His name was Milton Hopkins. We became friends when I was in my 20s, and we were friends until his death. And if I had to winnow back, I've had many, many mentors for writing. But I would say that Milton was a person who showed me that somebody could come from the flatwoods, like come from my place, and love nature in a way that I'd never seen happen before. So he would be my original and longest running mentor, Milton Hopkins.
I love that. Now, my final question for you is going forward, what advice would you give to a young person who wants to follow your footsteps and continue this journey?
Mm-hmm. So when you say, Donna, follow my footsteps, I think you mean as a nature writer, as a writer who is also interested in the natural world and our human relationship with the planet. So I have to say that I believe that writing is an art and a craft, and I think that it takes years and years to apprentice to it and learn it. And my advice to such a young person would be to do that, to start taking writing classes, to read as much as possible. And then you also have to apprentice yourself to the earth. And that would be go out with scientists and naturalists and birders and botanists as much as possible. And then begin to figure out how to tell their stories in ways that grip the imagination of the reader. So we think of nature writing as being a kind of a flowery literature, the flowers were blooming and the birds were singing. And I don't think that that is the most helpful way to tell the story of our human relationship right now on the earth.
Well, I want to thank you for your time this morning.